Found this Stryfe at Kroger for $4, felt like doing a Stryfe. I don't know what I'm going to do to it yet, but I'm going to crack it open and get to work. So the Stryfe that I'm making just for fun has been completely sanded down and just got out of the shower, which is awesome. All of the logos that I want gone have been ground down, except, oh no, what's this? There are two giant holes in the blaster. Well, that's because I decided to try something a little bit unnecessary and kind of goofy, and hopefully it turns out for the best, but as long as I was doing a silly just for fun project, I figured I'd do a silly just for fun mod. Well, this Stryfe is now fully loaded and looks to be fully functional. I always do a quick test of my internals before I lock everything down, and it looks good to go. Let's get to work on the outside. So I was looking around my workshop trying to figure out how are you going to cover these giant holes in the Stryfe, because they're powerful, hideous, and in addition to that, they're not really safe. You can catch things on your prongs and you can get the internals wet much easier, so you need something to cover these. And as I was looking around, I made a pretty logical conclusion when I saw this. This is a Firefly Mag Kit that I've got on sale at one of the retailers in the United States, and I yanked out 2 Vortex discs, and they have a perfect fit for covering these holes, and they just so happen to be glow in the dark, which also gave me an excellent idea for the paint scheme. So it's not going to look great right now just because it's not glowing, but it kind of looks like a Ghostbuster ghost threw up on it or something. That's hilarious. But what I did is I took glow-in-the-dark powder, I mixed it with a decoupage and resin, and that gave me kind of a fluffy mix that I could put on. And I put it here over the Nerf logo. I dotted all of the little rivets. I filled this area. I ran accenting here, here, and here, and it's got this very kind of funky, almost like plasticky feel to it, and I think that that's really cool. So now it'll glow, and most importantly, when I level these discs on, it'll match that. So I'll have a really interesting glowing Nerf Stryfe with 180 motors, and that should look pretty neat by the time it's all said and done. So I'm going to attach those, show you the blaster firing in its final form, and then I'll try and show it to you at night. We'll see how that looks on camera. So this is the finished blaster. I've decided to call it the Ecto CS-6 because it looks very ghoulish with the glow-in-the-dark green kind of resin all over it, which I really like. It's very solid. It did a good job of covering up these holes, so it gives it a little bit of a different look, a little bit of a different feel. Blaster is signed down here, named here. The discs I enjoy a lot. I think that they look almost like they belong on the blaster. They do come off the edges just a little bit, so they're not the perfect solution, but they're simple, they're cheap, and every Nerfer has them lying around anyway. So as far as the new motor's performance goes, let's fire the blaster. And that's the kind of performance that speaks for itself. I don't think that it's any better than running Tamiya motors at all, so I don't really understand the Nerfers who choose deliberately to cut holes in the shell. I guess some people, it's cheaper for them to cut the holes in the shell and redo the shell that way than it is to shell out the extra $7 for Tamiya motors. I'd rather have a clean shell personally, but this was a fun kind of experiment in using these motors and seeing what all the hype was about, and I kind of enjoyed making this blaster. I really liked giving it the ghost theme. I'm gonna try and see if I can't get a couple of photos of it in the dark, but I will be selling this blaster on my eBay. I'll put a link to that in the description box below, so if you think that this is a cool blaster, and it's definitely a unique blaster, I haven't done glow-in-the-dark stuff in a while, and I look forward to using this resin glow powder mix thing that I've made into the future because I think that it was just really, really neat. I might thin it out a little bit more in the future, but for a prototype, this was a ton of fun. Anyway, it's for sale. You're welcome to check it out, and as always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this one. This one was an experiment multiple different ways for me with the glow-in-the-dark and the new motors. It was just a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.